folks, before we get to episode 349 of The Pull Bag, I just want to say that in the recording of this episode, my brain had diarrhea. It just wasn't a brain fart, it was brain diarrhea. And I screwed up a few times. I called this episode 349.5, which will be the next episode, our Batman Beyond Target Batman episode, kicking off Batman month this year inside the Pull Bag. However, wanted to apologize profusely for my brain dysfunction, I guess you could call it. I don't know. So, now, on with the show.
Hi, this is Dan Gilfazan, and you're listening to the Geekcast Radio Network.
You've just jumped inside the Pull Bag. Join TFG1 Mike and the rest of the comic reading crew here at the GCRN as they make their great escape into comics. From DC, Marvel, IDW, Boom Studios, Zenoscope, and more, we have everything you want to read right here. Transformers comics? Yeah, we cover that. He-Man? Yeah, sure. DC superheroes like Batman, Batgirl, Nightwing, and Batman Beyond? Yep, we have those too. How about TMNT from IDW and I Hate Fairyland from Image Comics? Yeah, we have all that here. Plus, so much more. It's all inside the Pull Bag here on the Geekcast Radio Network. So without any further ado, it's time to talk about the comics we are reading right now here inside the Pull Bag.
Hello and welcome to The Pull Bag. This is episode 349.5. Yes, that's right, a .5 episode. I think the last time we had one of those was 337.5? I'm fairly certain, or something. I don't know. Whatever. Doesn't really matter. I'm, of course, TFG and Mike, and returning from some sort of Canadian grave is JT from Saskatoon.
He's not entirely inaccurate with that statement, folks. I've been sick for a good long while, so...
Yes.
Don't you just love allergies?
No. You know, allergies, brain surgery. I'd rather have the allergies, but, you know, whatever. No one's going to get that, folks. I have not made an announcement about my situation that's currently going on. I will do that in a future episode once I have more information, because as of this recording, I have no information. Wait, did I say this is 349.5? Fuck. This is episode 349. Batman Beyond next week is 349.5. Fuck. Damn it.
One moment, please. We are experiencing technical difficulties.
See, folks, I'm brain damaged. And not in the literal sense. Well, I don't know. Oh, God. Anyway, Transformers Bumblebee from IDW Publishing. This is Transformers Bumblebee, Win If You Dare, which is kind of the line from the Stan Bush song, which will be in here somewhere. It's an original graphic novel, so this was an original story that was published as one book. I actually asked this question, and I know you know this answer. I didn't know it at the time. I thought I knew it, and I was pretty much right. I asked on Twitter and Facebook, comics people, I think I know the answer, but what's the difference between a trade paperback and an original graphic novel? My assumption is the answer that the trades are collected issues and the OGN is a one-shot full story. Any help is appreciated. And of course, people commented and said, yes, it's basically the same, where trade or graphic novel are issues collected, whereas original graphic novel is a full-on story that is just separate from everything that's just a collection or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Alright, so the creative on this is written by James Asmus, I assume. Art is done by Marcelo Ferreira. Yeah, I don't know him, but I know his name. And Ophelia Fabio. Colors are done by Valentina Pinto, and letters are done by the always great letterer Tom B. Long, who has been doing IDW lettering for years now. Years and years and years. And this is Bumblebee, Win If You Dare. It's all about Bumblebee and his various adventures on Earth. I do like the art in certain places. I like it on the classic G1 characters. My only complaint about the art in this entire book is Bumblebee's face just looks weird. Like, I'm glad he has a mouth and all that he isn't just beeping out stuff and whatever, and he actually has a voice. Like, the stuff that he says, I can hear Dan Gilvezan in my head saying the stuff as the character. But there are times where his face just looks really, really, really weird. It doesn't matter what expression he's doing. He could be screaming, he could be smiling. It just kind of looks creepy to me.
That's not too bad.
Ooh. Technical difficulties. Let's move on, shall we?
Yeah, so the art in this, folks, I'll say this right now, and I'll probably end up repeating myself as I already have, which you did not hear. Bumblebee's face looks different in every single panel. Sometimes it looks cool, sometimes it looks interesting, but most times it looks like a 3-year-old did it. I love the way all the other bots look. I love the way Optimus looks. I love the way Blaster looks. I think that's super cool. Even Ratchet looks super cool. But this is basically a Bumblebee story.
Yeah. I mean, the art's kind of classic G1 comics mixed with a bunch of Transformers animated. You know, especially that bit where Bumblebee kind of snaps at everybody and it does that anime trope of one eye open, the other eye squinted closed, and is like, I'm yelling right now. You know, that sort of thing. And I like that, like you said, Blaster looked good. I like that he's sitting on the side of the road, which is kind of a nod to the episode 2 or 3 of the original G1 cartoon where, you know, Spike's writing his journal. You know, I think Optimus would be a great president. And then he finds this, like, there's nothing untoward if finding a pristine micro cassette recorder next to an almost active volcano with a spaceship sticking out of it. Nope, absolutely nothing wrong there. Anyway.
I hate to be a G1-ist, but that wasn't Blaster. Blaster actually wasn't introduced until the movie. That was Soundwave, but that's what this is referencing with Blaster in this comic. Sitting outside of the Ark, that is exactly what it's referencing, but Blaster wasn't actually introduced until way later.
Yeah, I mean, and then you know, out of place because you think this is a straight up G1 comic, and then we see Windblade in the background, and her design is not doing her any favors.
No, it's not. There are some times that Windblade is drawn amazingly, and she looks great. This is not one of those times, sadly.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, if they'd put like the blue, like I call that effect Tron lines. If they had the blue Tron lines on her face, like in every other incarnation of Windblade, it would add a lot more.
Yeah,
you know, it's just that's the effect. It's like having Optimus without the mouth shield. You know, it's just there are some things you just don't do. Mm-hmm.
So Bumblebee is trying to find his place amongst his fellow Autobots. He's trying to capture his moment. He's trying all this stuff. He goes out to kind of relax and kind of think and whatever. And he ends up seeing these street racers.
One of whom looks really familiar.
Yes, exactly. Purple grill and all. Very familiar Jeep. And Bumblebee kind of breaks up the race and... He kind of, actually, the Jeep actually knocks into the other dude's car, and the other dude's car almost, goes over the cliff. Well, Bumblebee transforms, saves the dude. We learn that the dude's name is Mateo Cruz, and...
He's the Spike Witwicky of this story.
Pretty much, yeah.
And I do like the whole Bumblebee, like, trying to, like, I'm as good as any of you guys, you know, and it's very Transformers Prime Bumblebee, you know, because in this one he's the straight up kid brother of everyone else.
Yeah,
you know, learn to use your strengths, Bumblebee. Optimus says, and Bumblebee's halfway to telling Prime to go get an oil change, or however Transformers curse at each other. But yeah.
So Bumblebee saves Mateo and Mateo's truck, and Bumblebee tows the truck back to Mateo's garage, which would never happen in the 80s.
Yeah. And, you know, we find, you know, Mateo's this kind of gearhead. He's got a prosthetic arm. And, like, this would be a cool setup, you know, if they turn this into an animated series. You know, like have Mateo be this new kid, and you got somebody literally different than any other point of view human character that's ever been in Transformers. You know, he lives in the house with his mom. He's got all these planes. Maybe he creates the aerial bots. You know, this would be a cool setup, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it would. And his mom is this hotshot aerospace engineer and pilot. She doesn't just, make the technology. She doesn't just, build the plane. She flies them too. A point that I feel is grossly overused in this story. She says it like 3 different times to 3 different people, I think.
She's the Tanya Stark of this universe.
Mm-hmm. We meet up with, we find out that it is Swindle, and it is the Combaticons that are here looking for top secret project, or they're on some sort of redemption mission from Megatron or something. So we do see Swindle and all of that, and we get a scene with Mateo and his mom talking about the demonstration that they're doing tomorrow and everything else, the military demonstration. I do love the backgrounds. I think the backgrounds, the art and the colors in the backgrounds is really, really cool. That kind of sunset scene earlier where Bumblebee's on the cliff just before he goes and saves Mateo. I do love the background art in this.
Yeah, and I agree with you on the colors, especially that scene where Bee and Mateo are cruising into town. You get that awesome kind of almost like a matte painting in a classic movie, just that awesome vista shot like that. And you see this kind of smallish or decent sized town, it's kind of middle America slice of life kind of thing going on. I like that design. And we go by the garage and, 80s cliche number 57, tomboy girl who's good with cars.
Mm-hmm.
Nicole, who over the course of this thing, I really enjoyed this. And I don't know if the writers of this got like a preview of the Bumblebee movie or it's just, coincidence, but, I kind of got a slight Charlie vibe with Nicole's character, with her being a grease monkey and being kind of slightly fiercely independent and all that.
Mm-hmm.
And then we find how much of Steve Urkel is Mateo's character because she slips into the car and he's like, ha, 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 ha. What are you doing?
Yeah, exactly. Bumblebee tries to woo them and everything else with the music and all that. And, he and Mateo kind of get into this little tiff about the whole thing and whatever. And
I like the Bumblebee's face on the radio there where he's like, so Nicole seems cool, wink. And then Mateo just loses his shit and he's like, bro, I was helping you out, gosh.
Yeah, really. So they end up going to the demonstration. They end up at the airfield here, and as soon as
I wonder who some of those guys are sitting on the field.
Mm-hmm. As soon as they got there, I'm like, oh my god, it's the Combaticons. So
I even like how Bee's horns turn down in like a dog's ears in that one shot. Mm-hmm. He's just like, oh, hi, yeah, I'm not worried. Everything's fine. Everything's totally fine.
Mm-hmm.
And we go in, and Mateo's looking for people, and Swindle's behind everything, apparently.
Mm-hmm. Well, go answer them, because we both know I can't.
And Mateo, he's looking for, he's looking for Swindle.
Yeah. He's
trying to track him down, and then this guy here does not look like a friendly or helpful sort.
Mm-mm.
And then they keep going on. Bumblebee's kind of tooling around, and Mateo comes running after him. It's like, we got to find my mom. And next thing you know, Swindle's after him.
Yeah, Swindle's after him, so the chase is on. We get the other Combaticons in there as well. Not chasing after B, but they're at the airfield place, and we have this really cool chase, and Mateo was going to try to jump the train, but or jump in front of the train kind of thing with B, but that was not going to work. And again, it's back to the lesson of be slightly more careful, don't be so reckless all the time, kind of a thing. I believe this did come out right around the time of the Bumblebee movie release at the time. I could be wrong, I don't remember off the top of my head.
I do like Swindle. Unlike the previous characterizations, like God, I can't remember the guy's name. The voice Swindle in animated.
That would be Fred Willard.
Thank you. It was right there. Fred Willard Swindle. Like he played him as just this kind of like smarmy car salesman huckster type.
Yep.
And that characterization is here with Swindle, but I like how he does like the tough talk, which is not something Swindle in comics or animation is really known for.
Right. Yeah,
you know, and he's like, and if I see you again, I'm going to hurt you or your little friend.
Yeah.
And they sorry, you go.
Swindle eventually kidnaps his mom, or mom naps his mom, or whatever you want to call it, because they want this. The Constructicons, the Combaticons want this, super giant experiment that she's working on, and everything else. And obviously, it's a thing of it. If I refuse, well, we know where your son is right now, and we have our helicopter friend kind of floating around there, and whatever. Part of this also is Mateo asking Nicole to the dance that's happening that night, and everything else. So there's a kind of a high school dance kind of scene there.
And a lot of these character designs, it's not any specific thing, but I think, they made an effort to design, like, these are analogs to, like, archetypes you've seen in, like, The Breakfast Club or, Pretty in Pink and all these, like, classic John Hughes type teen movies. Mm-hmm. That one dude's sporting a very, Captain Planet Wheeler mullet.
Yeah.
But, yeah, so, Mateo shows in and, Nicole's all like, "You came," and he's like, "Yeah, I'm here."
Mm-hmm.
And this is honestly one of my favorite parts of the book. Is, they kind of, it's cliched, but they get the whole, self-conscious kid trying to, break out of his shell and all that. And
yeah,
I love how Bumblebee's just like creeping in the background. He's like, "Well, I might not be a total tech whiz, but I added a little something to our two-way signals." And oh god, he's turned Mateo into a puppet.
Yes, he has. Eventually, they're on the run from the Combaticons, and
they come after kidnapping his mom, and is like, "You're gonna make us stealth." And okay, I mean, from a distance, sure, but eventually, when they see like a helicopter or space shuttle and a two-cannon rocket truck rolling down the highway, stealth kind of goes out the window.
Yeah, really. I mean, Onslaught's alternate mode is not exactly very stealthy, yeah. So we have some good action, and we have the mom fighting, and then we have the combination of the Combaticons into Bruticus, so that's kind of awesome.
Yeah, I love the whole, like, They go outside, and like we knew Nicole was a gearhead, but she's essentially got the Beast from the Fast and the Furious as her own ride.
Mm-hmm.
Like, she's got Dom Toretto's Charger there. And he's like, "You drive. I'm still getting used to heels." And then they tear off after him. We get Bruticus, who, in terms of like in the way of like them assaulting this aerial base, and they want to get all this military tech and take over the world. I mean, Bruticus is... You can't say who your favorite Decepticon combiner is without mentioning Devastator, but that's kind of like saying who's your favorite Superman, like Christopher Reeve, for me. That sort of thing. Yeah. I still think the best is Christopher Reeve, but that's a conversation for another podcast. I'd say Devastator's number one, the Combaticons Bruticus is number two. I always did kind of like I forget what the Seacon's combiner form is.
I forget. I don't remember off the top of my head.
Yeah. But yeah, they get into it, like, and Bumblebee's kind of running rings around him because he's so much quicker, and he's taking him down, and eventually the bee stings them enough that, yeah, they become Bruticus, and you see him towering over Bee, and Bee's like, oh, slag.
Mm-hmm. And, we get to a point where Bumblebee eventually, they eventually have to, not be Bruticus. They have to be their individual selves, and Bumblebee says, I guess I just believe we each can do more than that way. Maybe together we can fly. And Bumblebee's on the stealth bomber jet ready to come in and destroy them and all that stuff. It's a fun story, it really is. It's just, for me, getting used to some of the art. Even later, after, as we're closing this out, a few victory laps later, when Optimus and Ratchet and them, or not Ratchet, Wheeljack, are shown loading the Combaticons into the prison or whatever they're doing.
I think that's Optimus's trailer.
Oh, okay. Well, then we do know where it goes when he transforms. Optimus's trailer or whatever.
Into the void.
Yes, Optimus himself. He looks worse here than he did in the Rebirth, the final 3 episodes, because the Rebirth was animated from completely different studio. I think it was Canadian studio that did the Rebirth 3-parter in the G1 cartoon, and he looks worse here than he did there. At least in that one panel where it says a few victory laps later, his face looks off, and his headlights look like they're dent. It's the way he's posed, but the art is just... And then later, as he's talking to Bumblebee, and he's saying it's too easy to define people by what you've seen of them. He looks fine there. He looks like he's supposed to look. He doesn't look like he's battle damaged. He doesn't look like he's supposed to be a zombie or anything like that. So I wish that the artists would have just stuck with one style. Like, I can understand 2 different styles if it's 2, and it is 2 artists on this, because it's this person and the other person as well, but I wish they would have gotten together and said, hey, let's stick with one style and not have so many different things. Overall, I do like the story. The art is middle ground at best for me, but the story is very good. It's a very good Bumblebee story, very interesting. What did you think of the end and all of that?
Well, I like the end, the comment, like, no, Bruticus lose target. Bruticus tear through everything. And I could hear Fred Tatasciore Hulk voice coming out of him. Although I did like, as I blast off, he's like, it's always excruciating to feel my intelligence blunted by your dims. I love that's classic Combaticons. And then B gets like the A1 Stallone Schwarzenegger action hero moment, like, surfing on a stealth bomber, pitching a missile right into their face, or missiles, and I'm just like, you go, B, you go. And yeah, it's I mean, again, it's the panels. It's not like they're trying to mix like the angular lines of what you would think the Transformers have with this animated effect, and in certain shots, it's very hit or miss. I love the whole, like, the best thing I can say about the Optimus in this thing is, like, maybe it's the design, maybe it's the language. I hear Peter Cullen, and that's not just because Peter Cullen is Optimus Prime. Gary Chalk did a great voice as Optimus Primal in Beast Wars and the Unicron trilogy. It's just, something about this story, the setup, the execution, it comes through as purely G1 in my head. So, I hear Dan Gilvan saying, I hear, Peter Cullen, and I love how at the end you get that kind of 80s comedy. It's like, wait, you did go to the dance? And yeah, we were pretty much the MVPs.
Yep. That's awesome.
And you get that great, they race off into the rising sun, and Optimus is like, go have fun, you crazy kids.
Yep, absolutely. I love the story. Just the art leaves me not that satisfied. But the story is awesome. It's a great one-shot Bumblebee story focusing on him and how his life is and how he affects others as well as how others affect him. Very, very cool. I love, I don't want to say side characters, but supporting characters that they use in this, because yes, it is all about Optimus and the war and Bumblebee and all the other Wheeljack and everybody else. I love that those bots had a cameo. Blaster by far has the best cameo in my mind as far as, like you said, being outside the arc and all that. Love seeing Swindle on the Combaticons. That's super cool. Overall, though, I would probably give this a 3.5 out of 5, mainly because, as I said at the beginning of this, Bumblebee's face never looks consistent at all.
Yeah, I'll agree with you on that. It's definitely a 3 out of 5 for me. They kind of, when you think about it, they kind of treat Bumblebee's horns like Spider-Man's eyepieces. Because a lot of artists tend to use, like, the eyepieces will squint, or they'll get really large, or, you know, like the way Bumblebee's horns droop down like a dog's ears sort of thing. I enjoyed that. The art, excuse me, I had to almost sneeze there. The art is, it's passable. It's decent. You know, the designs on most of the Transformers are good, especially Combaticons. I think this is some of the best designs they've ever used for the Combaticons. Like, the one thing I was going to say, and I didn't really have the words until I was thinking about my sum up here, is Mateo's mom, like, she does keep bringing it up that I not only design it, I fly it, and she's got this attitude, and I was like, again, I do like Carol Danvers, Captain Marvel, as a character. I've enjoyed many of the comics she's been in, but this predilection for continually, you know, crowing about what you can do in your accomplishments like that, for any character, be they male or female, does get very draining after a while. So that's another thing that I took a little bit of points off. But yeah, overall, 3.5. Dug it. I realized reading this, there was that Bumblebee Go for the Gold one shot that came out a few weeks ago, at least before we recorded this. I'm wondering, because he ended up, by the end of that story, he kind of got jacked up, you know, trying to impress all the Autobots. So I'm wondering if that is like a prequel to this or something.
I don't know. I'd have to look into it.
Yeah, I haven't.
Because, like I said, this was supposed to be an original graphic novel. It was not supposed to tie into anything that any other stuff that IDW was doing. Like, they released the. I actually bought it. We'll do it at some point, or I don't know, whatever. They had released the Bumblebee movie prequel comic. So they had released that right when this was being released. So obviously that's different because it's more based on the movie. And I haven't really I've looked at the cover. That's all I've seen. I haven't seen the interior art on that. So
yeah.
Go ahead.
Quick bit of Transformers movie continuity. It's the one that looks like, poster kind of looks like a James Bond sort of thing. If it's the miniseries that I'm thinking of, that one is a prequel for the Bayformers, not the Bumblebee standalone film. Because that film is completely out of continuity with the Bayformers, no matter what the higher ups at Hasbro or Platinum Dunes would have you believe, because clearly it's not. And again, that's an episode unto itself. Yeah. So overall, the art in that was good. It was kind of cool. It's, you know, what if James Bond had a Transformer sort of story? If it's the one you're thinking about, so I could be wrong.
Well, I'm looking at the one that you're talking about, the Transformers Bumblebee, Go for the Gold. It is the same author and art team that are on this, but it had, the one I was talking about was the
Man with the Golden Car.
Funny guy.
No, that's the name of the comic.
No, it's Go for the Gold, isn't it?
Yeah, no, that's the one I thought. I think that's the prequel to this graphic novel, and
okay,
the one
that could be.
Yeah, the Transformers, like Bumblebee, Man with a Golden Car, is a prequel comic, but it's a prequel comic to the Bayformers movies, not the 2018 Bumblebee film.
Oh, that okay, yeah. That's no, it is a prequel to the Bumblebee film. It specifically says Transformers Bumblebee, official movie prequel from Cybertron with love.
Yeah,
I have it. I own it. It's right here.
I know, but Bumblebee launches from Cybertron in 1987 and lands on Earth in 1987 in the Bumblebee film. It's the first time he's been on Earth. Anyway, that's a whole argument for another episode.
Yeah.
I don't believe this to be. It's a prequel to the Bayformers comics and movies.
No, the one we're talking about now, Win If You Dare, is not a prequel.
No.
Go for the Gold could be a prequel to what we're talking about, but the actual movie prequel is something completely separate.
Yeah.
But yeah. All right, now that confusion is over with, where can the people find you online, sir?
You can find me every so often, because we don't really have a set recording schedule, on the Comic Connoisseurs with Ben Carver and Red Ink. We talk about everything in and around and involving comics. Sometimes we agree, most of the times we don't. You can also find me on Facebook, Instagram, and the Twitters at JT From Saskatoon.
Awesome. I'm at TFG and Mike on Twitter. You can follow at Geekcast Radio on Twitter, as well as at The Pullbag on Twitter, and find us on Facebook as well. Make your great escape to comics, and we will catch you next time when we kick off Batman Month as we target Batman Beyond.
You've just heard the latest episode of The Pullbag, the GCRN's first comic review and discussion podcast. There are several ways to get in touch with us and leave feedback for the show. You can visit the website, geekcastradio.com, where you can comment on the episode and all of our different podcasts. You can rate and leave a review for the show on iTunes. Be sure to leave us feedback. Become a fan of us on Facebook, facebook.com/thepullbag. Send us an email, feedback at geekcastradio.com. Follow us on Twitter at thepullbag and at geekcastradio. So until next time, make your great escape into comics and unleash the geek in you.